introduce our special guest today so we have as much time to soak up all of her knowledge as possible. We have been really excited about this one. So this is Ray. She is the CXO, which I just learned means Chief Experience Officer for the Teach Better team. And we have been collaborating with the Teach Better team in the last year, and we have just been so excited to get to know them. They are just such wonderful people, and we are loving the collaboration that we're doing with them. And so she's the CXO for the Teach Better team, Executive Director of the Association of Illinois Middle Grade Teachers, Middle Grade Schools. She's a TEDx speaker, educator, and author of Teachers Deserve It and Teach Better books. Growing up with IEP support after being diagnosed SLD in reading, writing, and math, Ray has worked with other educators and districts on designing mastery learning classrooms nationwide to reach all learners. Ray continues to facilitate rich discussions with educators around mastering personalized learning, providing targeted student-focused feedback, and the impact of incorporating purpose into student daily learning. Through building partnerships with local businesses, Ray continues to support educators in designing dynamic, impactful, effective, and connected content, showing the impact of teaching beyond the four walls of the classroom and altering a community into an authentic resource for developing leaders. After being inducted into the Illinois State University Hall of Fame in 2017, Ray was awarded the 2018 first place Henry Ford Teacher Innovator Award for her innovative educational impact through the Teach Further model. In 2020, Ray presented on the TEDx stage, challenging educators, students, and community members to consider progressive, data-supported practices to further 21st century learners. We are so thrilled to be able to learn today from Ray. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Ray.
We're gonna have some fun today, friends. Are you ready for a good hour? Some good discussion, some good things happening. No, honestly, for all the entire BAR team, and I know all of you obviously very involved, I have been floored with how incredible the community is in this crew. So I appreciate you letting me spend some time with all of you. I kind of feel not worthy, so let's have a good time. We'll hopefully have some good discussion. I really appreciate the introduction. As you shared, I'm a middle school teacher at heart. I love working in education. I've been able to work at the university level, work in the classroom with students. I'm able to work with teachers, and I just love being able to like talk shop. So I have a lot I'm going to share with you today, but I won't lie, everything today is collaborative. So I saw some of you are like sitting in your car and tuning in. Some of you are at your desk at school or sitting at home if you're on spring break. I so appreciate that you're here. And I want to challenge you to choose to be an active listener, an active participant in this experience. There are so many different things that we have the opportunity to kind of dabble with in education. And in my opinion, none of them are really worth exploring unless we're going to do it with really good intention. So today I want you to do your best, give your best. And it'll be cool to be able to talk shop, hear from you by unmuting, hear your thoughts in the comments, kind of everything in between. So if you are ready to go, we're going to start off really quick. In the comments, I just want to take a pulse on if y'all are alive, because I am a middle school teacher. I know that sometimes we can fake paying attention, but we're going to really be active here. So in the comments, I would just love to have you share your feelings right in this moment. So you can say excitement, happy, hopefully not depressed. I really would love to see some positive energy, but I understand that we're only human. Just one emotion that you are feeling this morning, make it quick, press enter real quick as well. Feeling caffeinated is very along the lines of where I am as well. So thank you for those saying that. Happy, warm, energized, a little overwhelmed. I respect that. I'm a little overwhelmed today. It's just one of those days. We're embracing it, and busy. Carol, you and I got you. Me and Carol, feeling a little busy. I totally get it. As we're doing that, I'm going to ask you to pause in sharing those comments. I'm going to share a link for you, and your responsibility is going to be to click it. Ask me why I should click it, because I want to see if it's going to work. So I'm going to put this link in here. I just sent it to all of you. I literally just want you to click it open, and we're going to do this terrible thing where I want you to then not touch it. which I know we like ask our students to do all the time, and then you know it's going to be impossible. It should open a Jamboard. I don't want you to touch it or do anything with it. I just want it up and open on your computer. Then you can come back to Zoom and give me a big smiling face with a thumbs up saying, yes, Ray, guess what? The link worked. Yes. Phenomenal. You will need that link later on as we talk. It's actually our first activity. I have a massive giveaway for you, and we're going to use that to get brainstorming. So please make sure you open up that link. I would so appreciate it. It'll be a brainstorming space we'll use here in just a little bit. So as we get started, I'm going to share my screen with you. And my goal for today kind of goes into a title that I created, that I truly only created this title for us so you knew why we were here and you knew what our goals were before we left. Can I get a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Phenomenal. I want to give you 3 action steps. We are busy. And so I want to make sure that as you leave today, you have 3 things that you are walking away with. And if you have 3 things that you're walking away with, then we've accomplished our goal. And I want to make sure I give you as much as humanly possible that you feel like you can actually take those action steps. First and foremost, I have a little video for you that my students made, and I'd love to have you enjoy it. So I'm going to see if this works. Hopefully you can hear my audio. Fingers crossed. Actually, joke's on me. I know exactly they're not going to be able to hear my audio because I didn't click a button. So round 2, here we go. Try this one more time. This is Teaching 101. Here we go.
Hey guys, we're students from Evans Junior High School and Miss Hewart's room.
And today we are going to teach you how to properly sit when Miss Hewart teaches.
First, you have to roll your shoulders back and sit up real straight. But what do you do with your hands?
You could either be taking notes or in your lap, please. And don't forget to swivel.
Swiveling is when you give your eyes, shoulders, knees, and toes to the speaker, like this. Now you know how to swivel, so don't mess this up for Miss Hewart.
Now you just saw a little snippet from my kiddos. I love those 4 girls. They're incredible. They're sitting in front of a massive chalk wall I used to have in my classroom. So we've stood in front of those wings and took some pictures, and we filmed this video, which was kind of fun. But the reason I love to share how to sit is because that can be one major takeaway of today. I know that all of us have all these different needs, but we focus a lot on preparing our bodies to learn before we deliver any type of information to staff, students, or anything in between. So while today I'm not in front of you, which you're probably lucky because I'd be testing your swiveling techniques because I like to move and groove around the room, I do want to encourage you to really engage your whole body, roll those shoulders back, lift your chest up, and really choose to be an active participant, even if you're sitting in a car. You can still do it, I promise you. I really appreciate the introduction. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on my background, but for those of you who don't know me, I at least want to take a moment and give you a very warm welcome. My name is Ray Hewart. I love being a part of Educational Dialogue. I am a huge fan of the Bart Center and the work that's being done in this community. And I am so honored and humbled to be a part of this crew here. While I'm more than happy to elaborate more on my background, I think we should probably save that till later because I really want to get to a few big surprises for you and some action steps that we can take as we move forward. I am thrilled to surprise you all with the incredible honor of being awarded with $650,000. Can you give me a thumbs up if you think that's a lot of money? It's a good chunk of money. I'm just saying, if each one of you got this big old chunk of money, I'd be pretty happy with me personally. Our first activity together is going to be deciding how we spend it. I love when people hand me money. I am a huge advocate for people handing me random checks that I can use to better education, to better my classroom, to better my schools. And so I'm very excited to tell you that for today's activity, you've officially been awarded a little over $500,000, and we are going to spend every single dime. Using the chat that I shared with you, that link that I shared with you, I'm going to have you open that up. And if you can't see the Jamboard, do not worry, because we're not truly using it for anything more than a brainstorm space. I'm going to have you actually head into breakout rooms here in a second. And the breakout room is going to be labeled with a color. So just like back in kindergarten, we're going to learn our colors. You're going to either be in yellow, green, blue, pink, or orange. And when you head out into this breakout room, I would like one person, if possible, these are going to be the brave souls that exist in our classrooms. I would love for somebody to start off the conversation by saying, hello, good afternoon, maybe telling everybody like good morning, if depending on what time it is in your day. And when you get into your breakout room, you are going to be required to design your most dream learning space. Not only are you going to design your dream learning space, but you need to use all the money you were just awarded, $650,000. You can dream up any dream you want. I want to see some wacky, dramatic things. This is an activity I actually did with my students at the beginning of COVID when we all were forced to learn in our bedrooms, in our kitchen tables and everything in between. And if you had this amount of money, I want to know what your dream space would look like. I'd like you to work as a group to spend this money if possible. And I want you to really map out during our time how you want to spend every single detail. You can build, you can incorporate in construction, you can purchase things off Amazon. I want a list and I want you to brainstorm. So if that Jamboard works for you, that's absolutely outstanding. And if it doesn't, you'll still be able to actively participate in our breakout rooms. Hey everyone, we are heading back all together. Felt like every breakout room had some really good discussion. Thank you for heading back, slowly but surely getting everyone back into our space together. Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. Some people were like, no, we don't want it to close. Not yet. We weren't done. 10 minutes flies by. Flies by. I know. Thank you for heading back. We are slowly but surely coming back. I know so many of you were like, Ray, 2 more minutes. It's good. It's good to be able to spend some money, brainstorm some dream ideas. I love it. As we are slowly coming back. Looks like we have almost everybody here. We're going to continue forward. I want you to check your physical body. How we doing? Roll those shoulders back. Deep breath in. We just had some really good discussion. I think my favorite, I know this is biased because I wasn't in every room for the same amount of time. I'm only human. I think my favorite was the charter bus that had AC and a slide going down the middle. I just think that that was probably the way to go. I felt like that was a great option for our dream scenario, but we're going to refocus here. So we all just participated in a little bit of a wacky activity, right? How many times does somebody tell you to dream? How many times do people have the opportunity to remove a hurdle, like financial hurdles, remove a hurdle from you and just let you be the educators you are? I have a tattoo on my arm that says the word quixotic. Give me a thumbs up if you've heard that word before, quixotic. Yes. Okay. Those are all my ELA teachers. So like, we know that one. Okay. Quixotic. For those of you who may not be familiar, it's from Don Quixote, which is a book. It's also a ballet for those of you who have a dance background. And Don Quixote is a character who is just like overly hopeful, like almost to a fault, like somebody with no reason to have hope still carries this mindset of being like, nah, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So a quixotic person, or somebody you describe as a quixotic personality, is somebody who, even when they shouldn't have any evidence that they should be happy or excited or hopeful, still choose to carry that mindset. And it's so interesting because I think educators are some of the most quixotic human beings on the stinking planet. Maybe not in March, but you cannot tell me that every educator that walks in on the first day of school with students that they have never met before and are working anywhere from with 12 students all the way to 200 students, and yet every single teacher says, I'm going to make an impact on this kid. It's a pretty quixotic mindset. The reason we did this little activity together, and I want to get into some content with you, is because we all have hurdles as educators in front of us. It doesn't matter what role you're in. I was able to kind of see what roles you might be in between all these different coaches in the room. Some people I do this activity with and they focus on one single classroom. How can we use this money in one single room? So many of you chose to look at building wide. I had even a group that looked at this community wide, which then it felt like the money didn't go very far. But as you're looking at all of these hurdles we have as educators, whether it be financial or anything in between, we realize that even when these hurdles exist, if we take a moment and put them away, that there is so much intelligence, creativity, and hope that exists within our profession. So when I am able to come to all of you today and figure out what I want to do with our time together, it is to not only give you that energy, that feel good vibe, but it's also to really remind you that the hurdles you see in front of you, if we're able to move them, can result in incredible brainstorming and incredible impact for our students. When I attended a conference in Illinois, I sat next to a gentleman named Adam Welcome. I don't know if you're familiar. He's an incredible educator. And he sat next to me at dinner and over a beautiful steak and a glass of red wine said, "Hey, I think we should write a book called Teachers Deserve It." And I was like, "Why would we do that? That sounds terrible." And he was like, "Well, I have this best-selling book already done called Kids Deserve It. And it's an entire inspirational, beautifully fluffy book that says all the things our kids deserve." And I love the book. I totally recommend it. And I was like, "Well, Teachers Deserve It sounds like a negative book because there's a lot of things teachers deserve that they don't have. And how in the world are we going to write a book that offers solutions to problems that no one has been able to fix yet?" And the whole mission of that story that eventually developed and eventually was published in 2020, just as the pandemic was underway, which was really interesting timing, was looking at how we can identify and name the hurdles that we have in front of us, like finances, like disrespect, like oversized classrooms, and how can we start offering solutions that even while quite small can actually start making an impact in this incredible profession we have. So I really want to encourage you to, when you have a moment, save that Jamboard link. I know some of you weren't able to get in, and that's okay. There was so much creativity. I'd love to challenge you at some point later to go and check that out, because as people kind of close that link or engage with it differently, you'll be able to see there were 5 different massive groups of educators brainstorming incredible solutions and opportunities, not only for students, but for staff. And the reason that we did that was to have this reminder that teachers, educators, we're all teachers. Teachers can overcome the hurdles if we work to move those hurdles away and be a part of the solution. I think more than we like to admit, we see hurdles and we look at them and we say, "You know what? I can't control that hurdle. So I'm going to move forward and find a way to either ignore it or find a different solution." My goal with all of us today is to argue that we actually have an opportunity to be a part of so many solutions that we need to work towards in education. And like I told you earlier, I want us to brainstorm 3 action steps. There are 3 different focuses that we're going to have today, and they're all teachers deserve it statements. The first one is that teachers deserve happiness. And I can't see all of you. Some of you have chosen to have your cameras on. Some of you are nodding along with me, giving that good body language. Some of you I respect are driving down the highway and you definitely shouldn't have your camera on, but give me a little thumbs up. Do you think, right or wrong, do you think teachers deserve happiness? Is that something that we can be hopeful for, agree to? Maybe, right? I think so. I mean, I think all people deserve the opportunity to be stinking happy. I mean, think of all the opportunities we give our students to try and foster that. There was a story that I like to tell where I was sitting in my principal's office as a classroom teacher, and I was just telling him how exhausted I was and how burnt out I was and how I really didn't see how I was going to overcome the struggle that I was currently going through. I had a parent that was really adding an enormous amount of stress and anxiety to my life. I had students that I felt like I wasn't reaching, and I just didn't know where we went from here. I felt very lost in the space that I was in. And we ended up getting into a conversation around what makes us feel good. And because the reality is that we all need to incorporate purposeful things in our lives that make us feel better so we can continue to move throughout the day. And I think a massive trick that we can actually work towards if we choose to be self-aware enough to overcome not necessarily burnout holistically, but the things that we can control within ourselves to begin being a part of the solution is better understanding within ourselves how we recharge, and not just how we recharge, but how we recharge as human beings the fastest. If you think about what makes you feel good, there are probably a ton of things that make you feel good. For me personally, I feel good when it's sunny outside. I feel good when I get to take my dogs on a walk. I feel good when I have a loved one share their appreciation for me. I feel good when I get to watch my favorite trashy TV show. I feel good when a new movie's out and I get to go and watch a new movie and eat popcorn. I love popcorn. I love feeling good. However, each one of those activities, I should mention, I also love going on beach vacations if any of you are offering. I really, really love a good beach vacation. But all of these things have different time limits that require us to really recharge. A beach vacation, I won't lie, the travel, I have to pack my bag, I have to get there, I have to unpack. It takes a little bit of time to finally sit down, put my feet in the sand and like, whoosh, fully feel recharged, right? It might even take a few days depending on, who you're with and how stressful the environment's been. Versus a dog walk, depending on how many of you are dog fans. I have 2 ridiculous shelter dogs that live in my house and they take a whole lot of energy. But if I can get like 30 minutes with the phone away on a nice walk with the dogs, I feel recharged instantly. So as you're looking at how you personally recharge, being self-aware enough to know what you can do that makes you feel like you can recharge is really powerful. But as all of us are in this room leaders, this actually needs to go a moment further by saying, if we knew how our teams, how our staff, how our individual members that we get to serve and facilitate learning with every day, if we knew better how they recharge the fastest, what gave them the quickest success, then we actually could provide that more frequently. I was sitting with my principal and he was talking about, like what recharge. And he's like, Ray, honestly, sometimes I write people little notes and share my appreciation. I was like, that's really sweet. I don't think that would work for me as well as if you brought me a donut. I love donuts. I think principal donuts take the best. You know what I'm talking about when the principal comes in with a box of donuts. I think that that's something that refuels me real fast. You walk down to the teacher's lounge and all of a sudden you see the box of donuts. You open it up and right then and there, pink sprinkled donut. Oh my goodness, my day is turned around instantly. A note of appreciation is so sweet. It definitely adds a little warmth to my heart, but does not compete with my fake sugary strawberry donut in any way, shape, or form. So my challenge to all of you today is I'd like you to do a little self-reflection as we get into some of our discussion here. And this doesn't need to be something that we have an answer to right now, but this is a takeaway that you might consider walking away with. These are 5 love languages. It's very commonly referred to. It's by Gary Chapman. It's a full book and research study. There's a lot behind it. But with the 5 love languages, if you've never read it, it applies to any relationship. And I don't mean dating relationship necessarily or romantic relationship necessarily, although it does, by the way, feel free to bring this to your spouses. But this is really anything you have a relationship with anyone. Can you go to them and understand how they feel, appreciation, love, or anything in between? For me, I think they all 5 apply to everybody in most cases, and I would challenge you all to rank them. We're not going to dive into this too much, but if you want to take a picture, this could be a really wonderful activity to do with staff because, again, teachers deserve happiness. And if we know how to best infuse happiness into somebody's lives in the quickest way possible, because we're busy, then we want to make sure it's not only the quickest way, but the most effective. Gift giving is kind of like giving someone a donut. Can you give them something that you purchase or create, and it's a gift that has some meaning? Words of affirmation is perfect for those positive notes to a teacher, or that wonderful comment down the hallway. Hey, Rachel, you're doing a great job. Hey, Angela, you're wonderful. Keep up the great work. Those are words of affirmation. Acts of service is doing a favor for somebody. That's like when your spouse unloads the dishwasher and you're like, whoo, one less thing off my to-do list. I facilitate a mastermind on Tuesdays specifically for administrators in North America. And during this week, I had a principal that came in hot, ready to vent. And as she came in, she was like, I tried to form relationships with my staff. I told them that if they needed a 5-minute break, they could email me and I would take over their class for 5 minutes. And not a single staff member offered or asked for me to come in. And I said, hey, Teresa, I love that you are sharing your love and appreciation. You must really value active service because that's what you're striving to give. But if that's not the way that they want support, it's not supposed to be offensive that they don't ask for that support. Acts of service is wonderful. I love when someone helps me out, but if we're not helping people in the way that they need to be supported, then it doesn't actually count. It's kind of like those teachers that tell me they taught all day, but their students didn't learn anything. I was like, hey, if you teach all day and your students don't learn anything, you didn't teach all day, you just talked at them the whole time. That's not teaching. So it's the same concept. Like, we want to make sure that we give as much as we can in the most effective way possible. Physical touch is a little dicey. Let's just be honest here. We do have some staff members, of course, that love hugs, right? That always is great. Or even just like a pat on the back. But I'm going to like touch over that one. Just be a little careful of physical touch in the work environment. Moving on, quality time. Quality time is always wonderful. People that give you time. I think time is the most valuable commodity that we have. Giving someone time, you all today giving me your time is, I'm not even able to express it. I think that is the most kind, generous, and most impactful thing you can do. And to other staff members, they might want that same thing. They might want 5 minutes of uninterrupted phones ringing, closed door, hey, how are you conversation, and holy moly, you can fill them back up. So as we look at what teachers deserve, teachers do deserve happiness, and we can actually help them effectively get there if we understand what they need, and simply asking is a great place to start. Moving on from here, I told you I wanted 3 takeaways and we're going to race through these. The next thing I want to talk about is that teachers deserve respect. I believe this more than ever. I do not come from an education background in my family. My family are all in the design industry, which is super weird. They're all like interior designers or architects or like weirdos, and it's fine. Teaching is way cooler. But I have found the disrespect that exists in teaching versus the respect that I've seen in other spaces is astounding. And I found this to be really frustrating. What I realized, though, is that people don't know how to respect things that they don't understand. We have seen that so many times over, especially over the last few years. We won't even go there, of how easy it is for people who are unaware to give disrespect. And yet, we have also seen modeled that when people are educated in what the topics are, the respect really flows so much more quickly. One of my favorite takeaways that I love to encourage any educator group I'm working with is to ask them about how they show how smart they are. And it was a very strange question. Educators in the state of Illinois specifically have to do 180 hours of professional development every 5 years. Most of them have their master's degrees, and we all have our undergraduate degrees. We are some of the most educated groups in our careers than ever. And yet I don't think it's discussed nearly enough. Most educators do not frame their certificates of graduating from college. Most educators don't put in email signatures that they're Google certified. Oh my gosh, you're a part of a massive community here. How many of you choose to showcase those incredible opportunities to not only your students, but also your parents? So we look at what teachers deserve and teachers deserving respect. A major takeaway you could choose is by taking some of these actions. Choose to display your accomplishments, choose to hang your degrees, your awards, choose to display things in your email signatures. I was brought into the Illinois State Hall of Fame in 2017, and I never tell people. I don't know why. I'm incredibly proud. It was probably the coolest moment of my entire life, including speaking on a TED stage. And still, I think that moment was one of the coolest things. And the plaque is sitting in a cabinet on the other side of my room. Why? It's why not talk about the incredible moments that we have that all have stories and allows people to get to know us, especially those in leadership. You have done so much stinking work. Ew, tell someone. I also love the storytelling. We all have lives outside of our teaching careers, and yet sometimes we do not put ourselves and paint ourselves in the best light. I'd love to challenge you and have you challenge some of the people that you may serve to tell 5 people a week about a great moment you had in school. I think if every teacher and every educator walked up and made an active decision to tell 5 people something positive about their job every single week, we would see a very different education system. And it's something that doesn't cost anything, doesn't require much time for us, and actually will probably give us a lot of joy to brag on the work that our students and our staff is doing. So I'd love to have you, as one of your action steps that you choose to take, maybe consider telling 5 people a week for an entire month. That is a lot of people that we can positively impact with incredible things that we do. And I don't know very often how often we really take the time to talk about how important our field is. Last but not least, and I know then we're going to get into a Q&A, so this is why I'm racing through it, but hopefully I see some of you taking notes, so I appreciate it. And this is recorded, so I'll tell you anything we can, and then we'll always be able to talk about this later. The last thing is, because I knew our community that we have here, I really do believe that teachers deserve leadership, not just leadership. I think teachers deserve stinking awesome leadership. And I think this is hard because there's a lot of things that go into that. I think a lot of educators right now don't understand the pressure, the stress, and the workload that is on our leadership teams. And when I say leadership teams, I mean everything from coaches to principals to superintendents to directors and anything in between. But even though we may not understand, which goes into wanting to understand, we also need to be able to provide good leadership. Providing good leadership is doing some of the work that we discussed before, like providing happiness and being able to be reflective and ensuring that we get to know our people. It also goes into making sure that people around us know who we are, know our passions, know our qualifications. Let's go a little bit further. If you were thinking through, I'm going to have you put this in the chat as we're talking. I want you to answer this question for me. One word's fine. You could go with the whole sentence. We'd love to hear your backstory. I want to know, what do you appreciate about leaders that you personally have had in the past? I had an incredible leader named Jill Burrows. I love talking about her. I talk about her like she's dead. She's not dead. She's a great educator, and I love chatting with her. But talk about an incredible leader. Some of her most incredible qualities was her ability to forgive, her ability to be inspirational, her ability to tell me that I should take time away and care about myself just as much as I care about my role. Authenticity is huge. I'm seeing caring, honest, keeping up with progress, empathetic. Oh my God, don't we need some more of that in life? These are incredible elements. And my question to you is, as you think about leaders that have carried these incredible characteristics or attributes that you so admire, what can we do, whether it be in 15 seconds or 15 minutes? What can we do to emphasize to people that we too carry these strengths? Or even if you don't, you're still working on it, can you identify one strength you do have and ensure that every single day you take anywhere from 15 seconds to 15 minutes to share that that's something that you value and that you're working on? For example, if I want my community, we're leading the Teach Better community, if I want my community to believe that I am authentic, I need to truly share parts of my life with them. I need to be transparent in my communication, and I need to ensure that what I say one day aligns with things that I say the next. And as we continue to brainstorm the attributes that we really hold so close, I'd like to challenge everybody to have 3 to 5 things, 3 to 5 pillars that they stand on, that they say, this is who I am. When you think of me and my name, I want you to think of these 3 to 5 things as a leader. And then I want you to make every stinking possible decision aligned with those pillars as often as you can. And that's really going to allow you to continue to strive and develop to be a leader that you admire. In the company I work with, the Teach Better team, we have this mindset that we want to be better today than we were yesterday and better tomorrow than we were today. And that doesn't mean you got to be perfect today. And it sure as hell doesn't mean you got to be perfect tomorrow, but we're going to try. And we're going to know that every single day, whether we're growing 10% or 0.25%, we're still working towards today's best. I want to open it up to questions, but I also want to encourage you all to take a screenshot of this image that I have here. This will be the last thing that we do together. This, if you take the screenshot, I have a free copy for every single person here of the Teachers Deserve It book. I would love for you to either choose to consume it yourself. Maybe you pass it to a teacher that you feel like needs a little bit of empowerment. But I have a free copy for all of you. And here's how it's going to work. All you need to do is take a picture of this. If you are attending the BAR conference at the end of April, I just need you to come and show me this picture on your phone, on your computer, email it to yourself. You just need to come up with that image and say, Ray, I was here. I took this picture. This is going to be my free book pass. And I'll make sure to get you a copy of that free book. If you're not attending the conference, after the conference, I'd be more than happy to mail it to you if you're not able to attend, although we'll miss you dearly. So I hope you do come. I'm very, very excited. This is kind of the event of the month, I feel like. So if you would please do me a favor, email or take a screenshot of this, bring it with you to the conference. I would love to make sure that you get a copy of this book for however you choose to utilize some empowering words, hopefully some words of encouragement, hopefully some discussion, even things that we weren't able to discuss today. I will put this back up here in just a second, but the last thing I want to offer before we get into any questions, and feel free to put those in the comments, is just my contact information. To be clear and fully transparent and authentic, as we just discussed, I would love to be more active in this community. I have nothing but absolute admiration and love for the Bar Center's crew here. And I'd love to continue to be a resource, a collaborative partner, a network member for all of you. I not only gave you my social media handle on literally every social media you can think of, but I gave you my email. That's honestly my cell phone number. If somebody wants to call me, I can prove to you that it's my phone number. And I also have a link there. That's actually my calendar, like legitimately. If you type in calendly.com/Ray Hughart, you'll be able to see my entire calendar. I'd love to have you book time with me if you ever want to talk shop. I know sometimes it's nice to talk shop in a small, intimate space where you can kind of share some background on who you are. And I'd love to spend some time with you and continue to support the work you're doing. So I'm going to stop talking. Janice, you should stop me. And we should get into any questions that I can answer before, as we wrap up our day together. Thoughts, comments, questions?
Ray, thank you so much for first of all, I could listen to you all day, so I probably would not stop you. Secondly, thank you so much for the generous gift of the book. I think we're all really excited to read that. And third, I would love to open it up to questions. What questions do we have for Ray?
Hi, Janice, this is Pepper.
Hi, Pepper.
I don't have a question. I just have a quick comment. Thank you, Ray. This was so inspirational. It was affirming and it's necessary. And I have a particular passion, obviously, in my answer and our chat for dealing with trauma and making cultures trauma informed, trauma sensitive. But there's so much secondary trauma that teachers, administrators, and counselors are encountering, particularly post-COVID. And something like this was so helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you. And thank you, Janice, and to all of those who helped to facilitate this particular workshop. It was timely.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pepper. That was so kind. We did purposely want to do something in March because I don't know about you guys, but March was always the hardest month for me when I was teaching. My first year of teaching, I was like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? Like, why is everyone, and everyone's like, it's March. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's it. So we wanted to do something really, really uplifting, yet practical that you could walk away with you know, things that you can do and things that you can share with your staff. What else? Questions, thoughts? Come off mute. You guys know I got my wait time. So what do you got?
As you're thinking through questions, we'd love to hear any major takeaways. I challenged you to have 3 action steps. I gave you about 12. So did you find your 3? Everybody find their 3?
I don't want to monopolize this, but I have a whole bunch. I have a whole bunch, but 3 takeaways for me. Be authentic, be your authentic self. Number 2, begin to be deliberate about self-care. And number 3, if you put positive energy out, it will eventually come back to you. So everybody who's struggling, keep your head up. It may not come back immediately, but students are listening, colleagues are listening, and sometimes it takes 5 years or more, but they will come back and show appreciation.
Thank you, Dr. Pepper. Love that. Other takeaways from other folks?
I don't know if I want to follow that, but
I know it's hard to follow Dr. Pepper, but someone's got to do it.
That's a wrap,
Joe.
everyone.
You got this. You got this.
By
the way, Joe presented in front of our Minnesota legislature and testified on the power of BAR sometime in the last week. And let me just tell you, it was one of the most fantastic things I've ever seen. So Joe is a star. I know I'm making him blush, but now you can say what you were going to say.
Thank you. I came off mute just so you would say that, but
I know you did. I felt compelled to follow through.
I know my shoulder is sore from patting it too much. I just wanted to say thank you. And I was going to say that when you were talking about teachers, how do you display how smart you are? I was actually just having a conversation with a teacher last week about we've been engaging a lot with Innocent Classroom and things about what is your why, and then also what is your good. And I was just talking to the teacher about how do you display your why in your classroom. So if somebody walks in, can they, what is the driving thing for you? And does somebody feel that when they walk into your space? And how do you communicate that even if you're not physically there at that moment? So it was just a connection I made with the conversation I had earlier. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. That was awesome.
I'd like to add, hard to follow that accolades of Joe, but looks it's well deserved. But
right, it's only because I don't know you as well yet. Next time I'll have some for you.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Ray. Great job. Great workshop here. Lots of questions. The one I want to kind of focus on is I'm intrigued about the telling the story. I think teachers are great and principals are great about telling the story within their building. How do we tell the story outside of our building with our community? We as humble warriors most of the time, I think struggle with that, selling ourselves as accomplished and I think our kids share the story, but how do we as leaders with our greater community?
Brian, it's like, this is my passion space. You're so mean to ask me this question with only 4 minutes. All right, here's my little tidbits, but I would love to discuss this more with anybody who's eager and willing. But I would start originally with any school, do that 3 to 5 activity. I want you to think of 3 to 5 things that when you think of your school building, Evans Junior High, what are the 3 to 5 things you want to come to mind? Once you have those 3 to 5 things, that's where you're going to start in your storytelling. Your storytelling might begin with communication out, might be like, emails out to the community. Maybe you have some social media that you do some posting in, or some website or newsletter design. Everything should be within those 3 to 5 things. And they can be specific, but they also can be quite broad, knowing that for example, wanting your school to be student-centered. Well, that's a huge, huge topic, but a really wonderful pillar to base your communication off of. The other thing, and this is just a personal passion space, I don't feel like we invite our community members into our school building in a way that asks them to just show up as authentically them without writing a check. Most often than not, they're invited in for school plays or fundraisers or anything in between. And a lot of our community members, whether they are financially stable or not, don't choose to simply participate because there is a financial element. In something that I get to work with school districts across the country right now is the Teach Further model, which allows teachers to implement themed internships that are all sponsored by local community businesses that allow students to engage first with the purpose of the content before learning the content. An element of this that I really like is that we create partnerships between classrooms and businesses, organizations that exist. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because it really does allow people in some way, shape, or form to walk in and be them. Caterpillar, for example, is a huge sponsor for us. And all we do is ask that they come into the classroom as a Caterpillar rep, which they already are working for the organization, and just talk about their jobs and how it applies to the content that we're working on. So in short, my encouragement would be that while your communication should be clear out with that 3 to 5 activity, I would encourage you all to find ways to welcome community members in to see the learning in action without asking for anything but the community members to be themselves in the learning space. And that can be done in a multitude of ways. I just provided one example. Hopefully that gets us started.
Well, thank you so much, Ray. So you guys know I like to leave you with, some homework. So I want you to think about 3 things. One is I want you to very intentionally think of one of the things that Ray taught you today as a takeaway. She taught you a million things, right? But what's one thing? We're all about baby steps here at BAR, right? We want to be better tomorrow than we are today. So what's one thing that you can commit to doing? And I love to calendar it out. So, or sticky note it, whatever your thing is. So if you feel so compelled, go ahead and put it on your sticky note or put it on your calendar. I'm going to write a note of appreciation. My thing is gifts. I like to send people gifts. I'm going to send a gift, or I'm going to do one thing. And then I have 2 other things for you that I want you to think about in your schools this week. And your coaches may have already told you this, so this may be a repeat. We are hearing everywhere that everyone's struggling with attendance right now. And if we're not careful, those struggles are going to carry over into the fall. And so I really, really want to make sure that we're tackling this now to help ourselves be set up for the fall. So I want you to think about doing 2 things. One is I want you to make a positive phone call home to every student who is missing. And I want you to only make it positive. So this is hard for some of us, right? Because when we call home, we want to go, hey, I miss your kid, and they owe me 14 assignments. Just positive. Just make a phone call home and say, hey, we miss your kids so much in school. I miss their face. I miss their smile. And, really force yourself to just make it positive. The other thing that we're really seeing success with in our schools is if, I say to Rachel, hey, I miss Tony so much. Can you text him and tell him I said that in class today? And that seems to be really working with kids. So have the kid that is present text their best friend or text a friend that they're friends with and say, hey man, teacher was talking about you today. Kind of weird, but they said they missed you. Whatever, right? We can be awkward. I really think if we can get some of those kids coming back now, it will be easier to come back in the fall, right? If you never come back in the spring, stepping back in the school in September is so much harder. So 3 action items, 1 specifically from Ray, and then 2 to think about with attendance. Obviously, you don't have to do it all at once, but to think about over the next couple of weeks. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Ray, thank you so much. What a pleasure to have you. We are so excited to see you at the conference. We will not have a PLC in April because hopefully we'll get to see all of your beautiful faces when we're together. If not, we will see you back on our PLC in May, which will be our celebration PLC. So we'll be sending out some information about that. I hope you guys all have a great day. Thank you so much.